Alright guys, we need to have a little chat. So if you guys may have seen, I'm a little behind on this video. The trade happened about 3 days ago probably now. Maybe 2 actually. Maybe 2 days ago now. I think it was Saturday. But I'm a Canucks fan. You guys know, you can see I'm wearing my PD jersey. I'm a big Canucks fan. We got the Horvat jersey hanging up there. And the Canucks made a big trade. Now, I am a little behind talking about this. You guys have probably seen some videos talking about the trade, but I want to give it to you from my opinion, from a Vancouver Canucks fan perspective, tell you guys what I like, what I dislike about the trade, and just my overall thoughts. If you guys have not seen the trade, I'm thinking of it off the top of my head here. I'll have a photo on the screen of it, but the Vancouver Canucks sent Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle, Anton Roussel, a first, which was their 9th overall pick, a second from next year, and a 7th from next year. The Arizona Coyotes for Connor Garland and OEL, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Now this is the big trade. There's a few things I, as a Canucks fan, dislike about it, and there's a few things I actually don't mind about the trade. But before I go more in depth, as always, if you guys are new to the channel, it would mean a lot if you guys subscribed. Like the video if you enjoyed. We're on the road to 400 subscribers. And yeah, let's talk about it. So first off, let's talk about it from the Arizona Coyotes. Not bad. They seem to be going into a trend here where they're willing to trade off players who do not fit their timeline. I guess Garland did not fit their timeline as he's 24, I believe, years old, going to be 25. He just didn't fit their timeline for when they see themselves being a contender in about probably 4 to 5 years. He just didn't fit. They didn't want to pay him. He was their best forward last year, so I guess they just didn't want to pay him as he is an RFA this year. OEL is somebody they've been trying to get rid of for a while. He's got kind of a rough contract. We'll dive into that a little bit further, but he was making, at least on the Arizona Coyotes, 8.25 or something like that for the next 6 years. So that takes him till he's about 36 years old. Little bit of a rough contract there. So the Arizona Coyotes have made it very clear that they're willing to take on terrible cap to get some draft picks so they can recoup and retool for the future, which is cool. If that's what they're willing to do, then this is a great year to do it, especially with there's no increase on the cap. We have a flat cap. So if there's any year for a team who has cap space to do this, this is the year. They're definitely recouping on some young talent and the ability to draft young talent. So if that's the way they want to go, by all means, I get it. So from the Vancouver Canucks perspective, they had one more year with Louis Eriksson, Anton Roussel, and Jay Beagle, making $12 million between the three of them till next year. Now, Jim Benning, I think, was caught a little off guard with how the Canucks played this year. Truthfully, I was too. I did expect them to have a bit of a back year from them making the playoffs in the COVID little bubble there. But I did not expect to have the year that they did, and I think he felt the pressure and he wanted to go out and do something to allow them to thrive and actually make the playoffs next year and be a good competitive team, which I do, believe it or not, think this trade allows them to do. So they trade off those 3 contracts. That gives them more cap now, even though they took in some cap with OEL, but that allows them to have about $6 million extra to sign PD and Hughes, as well as them considering shopping out Braden Holtby, who I do think they will shop out by the end of the year, so they'll free up $4 million, and Nate Schmidt as well as somebody I think they will trade from, so that'll also free up another $6 million. All in all, what Jim Benning's trying to do isn't bad. It's a gamble for sure though, because you got OEL, who has struggled the past couple seasons for the Arizona Coyotes, which makes his contract look terrible. Now, let's picture a world where OEL does not struggle those 2 years. Let's say somehow when he signed the contract, he was playing well, he was one of the best defensemen in the league, and he stayed that way these past couple of years. I don't think the Arizona Coyotes are looking to trade OEL, and I think his contract looks better. I think Jim Benning is banking on that exact thing happening for the Vancouver Canucks. He's hoping that a fresh start, the competitive team, the Canucks are such a competitive team, they want to win. You got young talent, and I think OEL will thrive with that. He'll see that, and he'll feed off that, and he'll also really want to win. And I think he'll take that to up his game a little bit. And I hope as a Canucks fan that OEL comes to Vancouver and plays well, and that's exactly what Jim Benning's banking on. With the Arizona Coyotes retaining some money, so he's only worth about $7 million now. That's $1 more mil than Nate Schmidt, and if OEL plays better, he plays better than Nate Schmidt did last year. So it's definitely a gamble, and it's an expensive gamble, but it could potentially pay off. I do think the last 2 years of that OEL contract are going to blow. Like, if he turns up and he plays well, I do not see him continuing that for 6 years. I do think, though, if he bounces back next year and plays really well, it could potentially last about 4 years. And the Canucks have about a good 4-year window to compete. And then other than that, he might drop off. The $7 million will look a little rough for the last 2 years, but it really depends. But now also with the trade, they get Connor Garland, who was Arizona's best player last year. I believe he put up 30, what was it? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it was like 38 points in 48 games or something like that. He was very, very solid. I'll probably have his stats on the screen so you guys can see. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. All I know is he was very good. And I do think him playing in that top 6 role, whether he's playing with Horvat, Hoglander, whether he's playing with Petey, Miller, Besser, whoever his line mates are, I think he's going to thrive and do very, very well in Vancouver. But now Jim Benning has to sign him. Now, what does Jim Benning sign him for? I see Jim Benning signing him for something like maybe 4 years, $5 million, something around those lines, which it kind of makes up for him not signing Toffoli. I personally would rather have Connor Garland on my team than Tyler Toffoli. So the Vancouver Canucks did give up quite a bit, giving up that 9th overall pick. I initially saw the trade and I saw all those 3 pieces and I saw a first and I was like, that's not bad with retained. But then when the trade actually came out, I saw the 2nd and 7th round picks. Those kind of hurt. I don't think we needed those in there. It would have been better for the Canucks, but at the end of the day, it's only a 2nd and a 7th. So I'm actually, as of right now, I'm okay with the trade. I look at it, I think it makes us more competitive. And sure, we may take a hit taking OEL's contract, but we get a good young star like Connor Garland, who I would be okay with if the trade was 1-for-1, that 1st overall pick for Connor Garland. So if you look at it, it's a 2nd, 7th, and all those shitty contracts for OEL. I mean, as a Canucks fan, I'm okay with it for now. It's really going to be one of those trades that it's going to be however next year goes. It'll be one of those trades that if Dylan Guenther, who the Arizona Coyotes drafted 9th overall, turns into be a star, and OEL sucks and Connor Garland doesn't really turn into much, obviously it'll look bad for Vancouver. But if Guenther busts and Garland comes in, puts up a point per game next year, OEL plays good, puts up like 60, 70 points, looks fantastic for the Canucks. So it's one of those that honestly could go either way. And no matter which way it goes, the other team's going to be looked at and laughed at for making the trade. That's just how draft pick trades go. They're risky, but I think the Canucks weren't willing to wait 3 or 4 years for Dylan Guenther to come into the NHL and be good. They wanted someone like Garland, who they know could fit into their top 6 with the timeline of the players they currently have and play well. So I get what Jim Benning's doing. He wants a bona fide top 6 player now. So I get that. I totally get that as a Canucks fan. Also, if you look at it, you see that deal the Chicago Blackhawks made with Seth Jones, offering him $9.5 million for 8 years. To be honest, sure, OEL last year may have been worse than Jones, but not by much. And that makes the OEL contract not look as bad, because we could be paying him 9.5, like the Chicago Blackhawks are doing for 8 years for Seth Jones. Hopefully Seth Jones bounces back, just like hopefully OEL bounces back. But that was a lot of rambling on. As a Canucks fan, currently, as it stands, I'm okay with the trade. I'm okay. I can live with it. But it will totally depend on how next season goes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, let me know if you guys subscribe. Like the video if you enjoyed. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.